Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're doing a little bit of carving. Let's get my glove on here. I've recently started carving little mushrooms. These are going to be part of a display. I've got some wooden discs that I plan to set them on. Once I get a couple of them, and a little bit of moss. Just a nice little tableau. But that means we need lots of mushrooms. I'm carving these out of some wood that I got from my yard. Pretty sure that this is from a mulberry tree or bush, because we've tried very hard to not let it take root in our yard, but it has other ideas. Because of where it's growing, it would be way too hard to just dig out, because it's right along our fence line and intertwined into our fence line. Because we have not only animals of our own, but a lot of neighborhood animals. I'm not going to put down any kind of poison to get it out of there. So what I do is every fall I trim it way down. And I used to compost everything that I got off of it. But since I started carving, I realized I have much better options for what to do. This goes the same with there's a maple tree that is growing behind our house, and it's not more than a sapling. We tried to take it out because really there's no room back there for it to grow, but every year it gives me new small branches, and every year I cut it back. It's just now I have something constructive to do with it. So like I said, we're doing mushrooms now. I'm going to actually press this pretty firmly into the wood around the circumference. This is going to roughly tell me where I want the mushroom cap to be and where to start the base. This I'm leaving on here as a handhold, and once I get the actual mushroom carved into here, I have a little handsaw. I'll just cut it off, and then I'll have this little piece left to do something else with. So I realized these small pieces would also be really nice for making small pendants. Oh, this will be a bit taller mushroom than I was making. In case you're wondering what tools I'm using, the couple knives that I have are from Beavercraft. I have watched a lot of their tutorials, bought my starting kits from them, so and I do quite like their tools. They make some really nice sets that are beginner friendly and give you a nice introduction. I know there's a lot of other tools out there that carvers might consider to be better, but much like with all of my other art, I try to get a fairly solid entry for beginning. I don't want to cheap out and buy like Wish specials for carving tools, because way too easy to get hurt if you buy cheap knives and stuff. But much like with even my drawings, I started out with less expensive pencils, and as I got better and realized the differences, I worked my way up to, and I mean, I'm still not using the top of the line pencils, but I've gotten to a point where I'm familiar with the tools that I use. I like the tools that I use, and I can produce the results that I want. And for right now, these tools are producing what I want. As I get further and want to do more intricate things, well, then I'll likely need something different. Child, I tried using just a regular pocket knife, and it wasn't very sharp, and it didn't carve very well, but it gave me enough of a taste to know that someday I'd really like to pick it back up. As you become an adult and life gets busy, you don't always have time to pick up new hobbies. Not that that's either a good or bad thing. I mean, it is what it is. You do what you have with the time that you've got. I just decided that this was something that I really wanted to pick back up, and luckily I have a very supportive family. Doesn't complain too much when I say, hey, I want to try this. They are used to me having getting a hyper focus and just taking off basically with new projects. See, I didn't make that stop cut very deep when I initially made it. It was just more or less a marker at the time work our way around here, making it a little bit deeper. I'll just keep going on that until I get the stem that I want on this little mushroom. Most of my initial carvings have been done on basswood. I think that's what pretty much everybody seems to start with. It came with the kit that I had, and I didn't realize some of the limitations of that particular wood when I started. It's soft, and it's really nice to carve into. Makes it a fairly easy job, but it also isn't always great for details. Now for these mushrooms, it really doesn't matter. There's not a lot of detail to them. And most likely some of the leftover basswood that I have from making other projects, like the bits that I cut off at the ends when I do my spoons and whatnot, will no doubt be turned into mushrooms or small critters, whatever, pendants. I've been doing a lot of hearts and Star Trek insignias with some of the leftover wood. And honestly, as neither of those is terribly detailed, the basswood works really well. But I noticed on some of the spoons when I was trying to get more intricate with the flower patterns or some of the braids. Here's an example. This particular spoon, this is stained in apple cider vinegar with steel wool in it. You do that overnight and then it makes a nice gray stain, but you can see in the spaces in here, this has been sanded so many times and it's just still really rough. It's splintered around the edges. It could just be that I'm very lazy and didn't sand it enough, but when it gets to the point where this part was actually broke off and I had to glue it back on because I sanded it a little too hard. So I'm probably going to redo this particular spoon in a harder wood just to see if I can get it a little bit better. This is the other one I had. And it's just really, really rough around the petals no matter how much I sand. That's both physical sanding and with the Dremel. It just doesn't want to get smooth. So I thought it was entirely my technique. It might be, because I haven't been carving for very long, and I'm still learning every day. Videos here, I'm not doing these as a tutorial. I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be. That's the same with my drawings. That's why I don't really do tutorials, because I'm still learning, so I don't feel like I have anything of value to teach people at this point. I don't do anything revolutionary. I just draw pretty girls. I still watch a lot of tutorials. I still follow a lot of artists. And I do learn from everybody that I follow. Because that's why I follow them. And if you're not going to learn from people who may have been doing a particular technique or style for longer than I have, then what's the point? I mean, there's so many people out there doing things, and like I said, I don't feel like I'm one to teach anyone. If somebody can pick up something from me or learn something from me from watching and listening to my rambles, then basically, then more power to them, because I ramble about nothing. And although I try to mention my techniques and stuff, how actually clear that is, I'm never quite sure. Okay, so we've got a pretty good mushroom here. The stem's not quite as far in as I wanted. I'm almost thinking that having the hand grip on at this point is hindering me from going further. So give me a minute to cut this off. I'm going to pause the camera while I do that, because the saw is very squeaky and not at all a soothing noise. So let me get this cut off and then we'll finish our mushroom up. Okay, so now we have our piece cut off from the handhold. Did end up getting a little bit of a chip out of here because I was not careful enough. Swap knives here. So that one's starting to get in need of sharpening. Bits on the end to take care of anyway. And thinking about it, I might just make it where a second mushroom goes when I start putting the tableau together. And there in the background you hear Earl. She is our tortie cat, who is full of attitude and noise in the mornings. Call it tortitude, since she's a tortie. Although we tend to call her our little goblin. Although most of the time she acts more like a gargoyle, because she will sit on our top step and just stare down through the railings into our office space. But right now she is upstairs on the landing howling because She is trying to convince everybody who's still asleep that I have been neglecting her and haven't fed her. This would not be true. When I come downstairs in the morning, cats are fed as soon as I let Leia out. Leia goes out in the fenced yard to do her business, and I go back and feed the cats. But as everybody else in the house is still asleep, she thinks that she can convince them to give her more food. She's a very silly kitty. But here we go. And we have a mushroom. Next up, we'll be sanding this all down. Although I do kind of like the rough edges on it, but get to sanding this all down. Get the Dremel to some of the rough edges pieces here. And then we'll get a couple more made and put it together in a tableau. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me today for our little carving. Don't put these away yet. I'm going to sharpen all my knives up before I put them away. But anyway, thank you for joining us. Stay tuned for some ear roll tacks and have a great rest of your day.